Yo, what guys, it's Pedro here, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about the Washington football team possibly being interested in trading up for Ohio State quarterback Justin Fields. We're going to be talking about how much it's going to take to get him, what his fit would be for the Washington football team, and some other quarterbacks that the Washington football team could possibly trade up for in the draft. So if you guys are new, make sure to subscribe for Washington and NFL content. Let's get right into it. Okay, first I'll read the report by Kevin Sheehan, and then I'll talk about what it would take to trade up for a quarterback like Justin Fields or any other quarterbacks this year in the draft. So this, like I said, was reported by Kevin Sheehan on his podcast, and he said, "I've heard Washington and their brain trust love Justin Fields. I've heard he's a leader and a high character kid." So this is a couple days ago, and this is relevant because if Washington can't get one of their big name quarterbacks that we don't know who their top options are, but let's say they want to go after Deshaun Watson and they're not able to get him. Let's say Derek Carr, let's say Dak Prescott. If they strike out on all those options, then what's left is some other free agents that they might not be too interested in and the draft, and they might end up going to the draft to find their franchise quarterback and maybe letting Kyle Allen or Taylor Heineke play for half a season or even a year and get that quarterback ready for the next couple of seasons. And Justin Fields is definitely an option, and so is someone like Trey Lance. I do think, obviously, Trevor Lawrence, there's no way we end up with him. He's going to be the number one overall pick. I do think that Zach Wilson also is a reach. I think he's going to go in the top 4. So after that, it's just a matter of who gets drafted first, Justin Fields, Trey Lance, and how much we're willing to give up to trade into the top 7, top 8, because there's a lot of quarterback needy teams. And like I said earlier, Rivera said we will explore all of our options for the quarterback position. And one of the things that's really important to keep in mind with Rivera and, Marty Herney, Martin Mayhew, when they have been asked what they like in a franchise quarterback, they talked about leadership and how important that is. They've talked about it in a bunch of different interviews, especially Ron Rivera talking about that's the most important quality in a franchise quarterback is to be a leader. And by all accounts, Justin Fields is that. So that definitely could interest Ron Rivera, Marty Herney, and Martin Mayhew possibly trading up to get him. Real quick, kind of a background on Justin Fields. He started his career at Georgia. That is something to keep in mind because everyone talks about him playing at Ohio State, and no Ohio State quarterbacks have been successful. He did play his first year in college at Georgia, so something to keep in mind. Obviously, mostly played at Ohio State, but did play at a different school. In 2019 was outstanding. Had a 67% completion percentage, 3,273 yards, 41 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. This year took a little bit of a step back. Not that much though. He had a higher completion percentage, about 70%, 22 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, pass rating about 175.6. He played in a little bit less games, so that's why the touchdown numbers are down. And he did have a couple games where he struggled, was playing very injured in the Clemson game and in the final game against Alabama as well. And I do believe against Northwestern, he was a little bit injured too. He not only is a passing threat, but is a solid runner as well. This year, 81 rushes, 383 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Year before, had more rushes, obviously, because the season was longer. Had 484 yards, 10 touchdowns. He's a pretty big guy, 6'3", 228 pounds, might even get a little bit bigger than that when draft season comes along and when he actually starts playing in the NFL. So he's an intriguing prospect. There are some concerns with him, but that's with every quarterback. In the big games this year, he really hasn't produced at the level you want a guy to produce at, but he's way different than Haskins, way more NFL ready. Of course, with a lot of these quarterbacks, except for the Trevor Lawrence, Joe Burrows, you want them to take some time to sit back behind a quarterback before they start. But I think Justin Fields, besides Trevor Lawrence and maybe Zach Wilson, is one of the most NFL ready quarterbacks in this draft. I think someone like Trey Lance is probably going to have to sit a year before he actually starts, not only because he plays at a lower division school, but he also really only had one full season of starting, and that's just a big concern for me, and that's something that Justin Fields has an advantage over someone like Dwayne Haskins, who played at Ohio State. Justin Fields has 2 full years of starting in this system. Dwayne Haskins did not have that at all. He only started for 1 year, and that was concerning. Justin Fields has started for more, and, did play some in Georgia as well. I think it's always a red flag when you see a quarterback that hasn't played many games before. And if you do have that quarterback, you want to give him time, and that's something Dwayne Haskins should not have probably played in his rookie year. And now let's get into real quick, before we talk about their fits, what it would take to trade up for someone like Trey Lance or Justin Fields. So I'm going to go back to this trade that the Steelers made with the Broncos in 2019, and obviously every draft is different, but this was the trade. So the Pittsburgh Steelers made a big move into the top 10 on Thursday night to get their inside linebacker of the future. The Steelers acquired the 10th pick from the Broncos and took Devin Bush. In exchange for the 10th overall selection, Denver received first round pick and second round pick and a 2020 third round pick. So basically they swapped first rounders, and the Broncos got a second round pick and a third round pick, and the Steelers jumped up 10 spots. So I don't know if 10 spots where we're at 19, if we go to number 9, we're not going to be in that position to draft Justin Fields. I think he's going to be in that, top 10 range. I really do. Trey Lance, though, that's different. Some teams might really like him and draft him in the top 7, top 8, and then maybe there could be some teams that don't, and maybe he falls into the top, or like 9, 10, or maybe even to 15. I don't think he's going to be there at 19, though. So Washington, if they want to make a move at someone like Justin Fields, I do think 7 is a spot where they could get him. But here's the thing. You have to be 100% confident that you're going to be able to draft the guy you want if you're going to make this trade. Because if there's only a chance that Justin Fields is going to be available at number 7, you don't make the deal. You got to make sure whoever you want, whether it be Justin Fields or Trey Lance, you have to make sure that your guy is available. And, I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of drafting a quarterback in the first round this year, because I do believe, our defense is ready to win now. Obviously need a couple more pieces, and we don't have that many weapons on offense, so a rookie quarterback could struggle. But here's the thing. If Ron Rivera and, Martin Mayhew and Marty Herney really like a guy, and think he could be a franchise quarterback, I have no problem with them trading up and getting their guy, because a franchise quarterback is so valuable. And let's face it, we're not going to probably be able to trade for Deshaun Watson. Dak Prescott is a possibility, but not very likely. And if you trade for someone like Derek Carr, that's not a franchise quarterback. He can be a solid quarterback, but he's not going to be a quarterback that wins you a Super Bowl. Maybe you could get to a Super Bowl, or even a Super Bowl with a perfect team around him, but he's not necessarily going to carry your team to a Super Bowl like some of these other guys do. So if you really like a guy, I'm fine with, giving up some future picks to go after your guy. And this year might be a little bit more expensive because there's a lot more quarterback needy teams, but Detroit at number 7 is a spot that could make sense. They got Jared Goff. It's going to be hard, to get rid of him in the next couple of years. So they might go quarterback next year. Who knows? But some trade packages that could happen. It really depends. But let's say we trade from 19 to 9, where Denver is, or even, around 9 or 7, because I think Carolina's either going to stay put right there or even trade up even more. We could give up our first rounder this year, a second and a third, kind of like Pittsburgh did. And if we want to move up to Detroit, I really do think we're going to have to throw in another first round pick. But then at the end of the day, who knows if Justin Fields is up there. I think you look at Jacksonville, obviously going to take Trevor Lawrence. If the Jets don't take a quarterback this year, then that really improves our chances, because Miami isn't. You got Atlanta, who could. Cincinnati won't. Philly probably won't. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens there. Give me your guys' trade scenarios. I'm fine with trading up, but if we have our guy that we're really confident with, because you're really not going to remember what you gave up because if your guy is a franchise quarterback. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please smash that like button, subscribe if you guys are new, and turn on those post notifications so you never miss a video. Peace.